Hello, welcome to Emerald Lake. I'm Raven and I'll be teaching you how to make an origami crane. Here we have instructions on how to make an origami crane. I'll be leaving a PDF in the comments so that you can follow these instructions. But for now, these are a couple of examples of what we are looking to make today. Open-winged. You can see the folds here on this one. But there is a bit of a triangular shape within the little edge that I'll highlight later on as well. But these are what we are after, so that you know we are not following a different crane instructional. There are cranes that when you move, their wings will flap. Obviously not on this cardboard example, but don't expect that out of this one today. Today I'll be using a paper that has a pattern on one side and a solid color on the other. We'll be using this solid color for the external part of the crane, everything you'll see. With this pattern, this fold, you only see one side of the paper. You never see inside the paper unless it sticks out. You can see if I open up this wing that this was double-sided paper and the yellow has been hidden under. That's roughly what will happen with this crane. Now, the origami crane has a lot of different stories attached to it. You might have heard of making 1,000 cranes to get a wish or get good luck. I highly suggest looking into those stories, but I won't be teaching them today. I'll be starting with how to make a crane. I'll make my own crane for you to follow along with, and then I'll be showing off common difficulties. So spots where in the instructions it might be unclear, or what people will often stumble with while making their paper cranes. And hopefully that will help you make yours. But here we go. Step 1, as in the PDF, we're going to take our crane and we're going to fold it into a triangle. So, how I'm going to do that, I want to make sure my green is on the outside. We don't want to fold it like this, or else that will be on the outside of the crane. That will be what the crane will look like. We'll be folding it like this, or maybe you'll take it like this and then fold it down, but make it into a large triangle. And with every fold that you make, I recommend you line things up best you can, and then follow it back to the edge of the paper that you need to crease, and then go over it lightly with your finger, or however you need to do that. Double check maybe that it's still lining up how you want it. Sometimes, especially later on in a project, the paper can start to have its own ideas. Right now I've got a very thin sliver of color that's popping through. That pattern is just barely peeping through, and that's plenty to live with. We don't have to worry about that. If you find that your triangle is a bit off, maybe unfold and try again. If you have an old crease, typically that's not going to be a problem. It's definitely not going to be a problem with this crane. So, once you've got it into your triangle shape, and you're happy with where it is, I recommend using maybe the back of a nail or the point of a nail, but the point is make it a harder line than it was before. Make your creases very solid. Confident. Next, step 2 is to make a smaller triangle. So we're just doing it all over again. We're taking this point to match up with this one. You might pick it up and line it up like this. You might be able to feel where the points are happy together, but try and get that as close as you can. Hold it still, rough fold, and then more confidently crease it fully. Step 3 will be opening up the crane and folding it into a square on one side. This might seem intimidating, but you're going to be alright. One way I like to show it off is you're going to see that there's a pocket on each side of them. They have little pockets where we see our pattern inside, or our other side of the paper. We're going to put one finger in there and pop it open a little bit. Make sure that it doesn't get folded funny. You don't want to be folding it like this. We want to pop open the pocket. Once it's open, we're going to take that side that's loose. It has legs, it's not the closed side. We're going to push it down. So you might have your finger in it. You're going to push this corner into that corner over here. That's where it wants to go to make it into a square. One way to do this as well, you can spin it. After you've got your finger into the pocket, you pull it over so that you're already lined up. And then you squash it down. Squash it down here. And then again, you might find the paper, get it to the point that you like, and hold it down with one finger. Then smush it with the rest of your hand, another finger, and you can go back and make more confident creases after. But once you had seen that it was roughly the square shape, that's where we do our first crease. And then we can double check it. Now we're doing the exact same thing on the next step. So what we're doing, step 4, is just to flip it over and do it all over again. This side might be trickier because we don't have as much room to go with. We want to hold this side down and lift up that triangle and fold it back, make it loose, make it a little less rigid. Now it'll stand up straight, and we can poke our finger in again, just a little bit easier. Make sure you get all the way to the back. You don't want it to get stuck here, and then it won't go. You want to poke all the way to the back so that you can do the squishing again. Line it up, do the initial creasing, make sure you're happy with it, and do a confident crease after. Now we'll have a foldy little kind of accordion puff to a square. And we're moving on to step 7 once we've got this. Step 7 on the PDF that I've attached. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these open edges. You can tell that it's the right side, that this is open. We're going to be matching this right here to that center crease. They'll meet right in the middle like this. We're not meeting a point to the line. We're not meeting a point to a point. We're meeting a whole edge to this crease here that is going to guide us. We're just taking it into the middle. If you have trouble with making sure it reaches the middle line, one way you can do it is use the other side so that they meet together and then fall flat. But I'll be using the center line. So I'll pick that up. We're not taking the whole thing, not taking both sides. We're just taking the one side, one little pocket here, and meeting this edge into the middle. And then we're creasing, it's there, we do a confident crease, clean, and we're going to repeat it on every side. So we'll do it here, and then we'll flip over, and we'll do it again, and again. And once we've done that, we'll be reaching step 8 on one side. In this order, according to the PDF, it's recommending that we do this side and then pull it up and then flip it all over and go to the other side. So I'll be following that. But I often do it a little bit out of order. That's not terribly uncommon that you can do your steps a tiny bit out of order, especially when they're all very symmetrical moves. We're just going to be repeating a lot of the same steps again. But here we go. We'll do this side, meet that edge to the middle from here over here. Line it all up, make sure it's as close as we can get it, and then fold. There's a little bit of a gap here, but that is not a problem. If we want it to be absolutely perfect, we could agonize over that. But the issue here I've already made a confident crease. This is why we like to make our creases after a rough crease when we're still learning. But here's the deal. That little gap isn't really going to affect us all that much, and a bit of individuality is not something to be worried about. It's something to be celebrated. So, we've got this side. We're still ignoring these back halves. We're going to get to them later. But this is the move that we're moving on to in step 9. It looks really intimidating on step 9. After we've opened it up from step 8, we're basically taking this point straight out and folding these little wings inward again, underneath. What I recommend is using finger points, but not all the way up here. You can see a natural corner where this lifts up. That is where we want to put our finger. We want to put it right there. And then same thing on this side. We want to go in there. So that is where we hold the things. We want to make sure that that's where it is. It's here at these corners and not further up. We don't want to go any further, but that's what we want. So you can put your thumbs in, hold them still with these fingers, thumb up to that corner, make sure it meets to that corner, and then smooth it out with these fingers if you can pull that off, and then up, and it'll look like we're starting towards a very open boat, like you're making a little bit of a canoe here. And what you would do after that, we've got that kind of rough crease from folding it like that. We're going to be more carefully folding each of these corners. See, this corner didn't fully pop out. I'll pop it out on the inside and I'll be folding it in because that's where we want this to end up in the end. I can do the same here, roughly, make sure it guides that way. And now I'm holding this top corner, this triangle at the top that we're not using yet. I'm going to fold these in. Now I'm going to be showing a different way to do this open boat moment on the other side, but that's one way to do it. So you're now flattening it out, make sure it's smooth. It's easy on the bottom end. When you go to the top, you're going to want to make sure that we pop it out all the way to the crease. See how that one bent? We want to pop it out all the way to that crease that we made earlier. That's our guideline for it. And then we can smooth it all out. We can flatten it down. Now see that gap that we saw earlier, it's grown a little bit. And we can see just a little bit more into that opening. This is the same opening where we saw the yellow. This is going to be the wing, and this is where we'll see that pattern. If you really don't want to see that, you can start fighting the paper here, try and pull it in, try and make sure that the crease does that. But all of this paper is connected, so it might not want to do that. And again, the individuality isn't a bad thing. But alright, so we've got that first bit. And now we flip it all over, and we're going to do all of this all over again. Back to step, step here. Back to step 7. So, we're taking the corners and meeting in the middle. We'll try this version where we meet these two edges. We make sure that they're aligned in the middle roughly. We know that they're alright when they meet up and the line is flat. So make sure that they're flat. Then we can kind of rough. And then you can go back in more tightly, right up against the line, and make your more confident crease next. Let's see if we can't eliminate more of the gap between the two of these so that our weird boat moment has less of a gap. Uh-oh. We have less gap than the other side on this one, but then there's green underneath. What will that mean? Don't worry about it. This is not a failure in any way. You will still end up with a crane. We're going to open back up again. We're going to try for that weird boat moment. One of the ways you can do this, you can take this triangle bit and you can fold it down so that it is a little bit of a guide mark, and you can use that. You can hold it with one hand can pull it up to that guide mark and push back so that it doesn't go further. And then you can push in the corners like this and straighten it out with the other hand. Straighten out each of the bits. Make sure that little corner here doesn't get ignored. Make sure that it pops out. And do the same and pull it all straight. And then you have that, and you can make a more confident crease. Wah! And it'll stick up. Now this time I could see this is kind of wanting to go back like that. But by the time we opened up the boat, it seems like the issue we made before is correcting itself. So now we have just a little bit, if you can see it like this. There we go. We have a little bit of a mismatched crease. You can see that there's a little ridge looking thing here. That's because we have our old crease on the inner side and our new crease out here, new edge. It arranged itself, it fixed itself, so that now it's not got a gap in between. It almost has an overlap. It's got a tiny bit of an overlap now. And you can see that the wings don't fully match each other. Because of that little bit of an overlap, it overcorrected, and now it's a little bit off, as well as the wing behind it has its own issues. But when you're just looking at it this far away, you don't notice it. They're wings. That's all that matters. So now we've got a top end that has wings, a triangle in between it, and a bottom end that I like to refer to as legs. Look at it kicking. That's our legs. We want our legs down and our wings up as we move on to the next section. So we're on step 13 according to the PDF. The numbers are very tiny, so it might be hard to read. It was hard for me. But it's on step 13. We're going to be bringing this edge to this middle. We're not bothering with that edge, just these edges on the lower bits. But that's also why we want to be careful that the legs are pointing down while the wings are up when we do this. So we'll take one side. We're not taking both sides. We're not doing this. But we're taking one side. And we're going to be bringing it into the middle just like we had done in that other step. So we pull it in and we match it up. We make a rough crease. We double check that this looks right. And here's how you can tell that you're doing your leg fold like this right at this step. There should be a little bit of a triangle. It'll look like this guy right here, this section right here. We want to see that right there. So I see that, I know it's good. I maybe fiddle with the legs so that the points are pretty. I line it up and I do a confident crease. I'd be careful with right here with my own nail catching it. And I do the same thing over here. Now again, we're using this edge. We're not using a point to the middle because then we would still get a bit of a triangle, but that's not meeting the whole leg. We need to get the whole edge of this leg into the center. So we'll do that. Pull it in. And we're just a little bit off. We can correct it a bit. And we'll be extra confident. And the paper decided it wanted to do what it wanted in the end, because I had done a little bit too confident of a casual crease beforehand. But it'll still look like a leg. It will be fine. And now we flip it over, do the same thing with these sides, so that we all have the little bit of a thinner point at the bottom. So we do it all again. Here we go. In this case, you can tell that you've folded it enough when it matches the other side. You don't particularly want to you wouldn't want to go too far like that. You just make this side meet roughly the middle, or look roughly like the side at the back. And then you can more confidently crease on both sides. And we've got a thinner version of this. Now there's a little bit of a gap here between this middle line and the wing bit, the flippy bit here. It can come out. But that is fine. far enough away it is unnoticeable, and even close up it will still look like a crane. So we've got this, we've got our skinnier legs now, we still got our wings, they're still them, we still have a triangle in between, and we'll be worried about those in a minute. Right now, what we're planning to do is opening up these and pulling these legs up. That might be difficult, but yes, the first step is to open it up. We're going to pinch on this one leg. We're going to spin it and put our finger in here so that we see this little face right here. I say a face because I can kind of see two ears and a long mouth. It reminds me of a fox, just a little bit. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take that one wing. We're not going to grab, or one leg, but we're not going to grab this one. We're just taking the one that's flattened out right now. We're going to be folding it way up. Now we're not going to pull it till it rips. If the paper is starting to rip, you've gone too far. But you don't want to fold too low either. Take it as far as it can reasonably go, and you can check where there's, for lack of a better word, a bit of a crotch between the legs. Where that is, we don't want to fold further. That'll rip, but we don't want to go less than that. You can see a natural line, because underneath, this is where the center line is. That old center line from folding the boat inward. We're going to go up right there and flatten that up. And then, with either hand, we're basically going to just pinch this inward. That little crease from before is going to fold back that way instead of this way. It's going to go inward now. It just naturally does that. So if you've got it flat, you take your sides and you pinch these two together. And then you can pinch it really hard here. You can kind of straighten that out, or you can leave it there and worry about that straightening after. But you've got it up, that's what matters. And you're going to hold it like this, and you're going to do the other side just the same. So you're holding this side closed. You're going to open up this side, see that fox, and then lift this leg up just the same. So now it's up, and you can pinch. You can just pinch like that, or I noticed I pushed in just a little bit here with one finger while the other two closed up, just to make sure that it folded down there. Now this one's not quite wanting to fold inward. We had an overlap, remember? So that means that this little paper on this side wants to go over and wants to close up like that. It doesn't want to fold inward as much. But as long as you've got this lower part closed, don't worry about that getting too flat just yet. It won't matter in just a couple seconds. We've got ourselves all the way to step 17, step 18, and now we need to do 19. We're going to be picking one of those legs that got folded up into the air, and one of them is going to be a tail, and one of them is going to be a beak and neck. Now what I usually do is I look at them and I say, which one of these looks like it's already prepared to be a tail? Usually there's one of them that's a little less prepared to be a tail. You're the problem. But our side over here is already flat and ready to go to be a tail. So what I'll do is I'll just pull it out to the side as I'd like, pinch it, maybe extra confident crease it. It'll wiggle a little bit wherever you hold it at. And you can also crease right down here tight to have it a little bit more out. And then I go back to the side that's maybe not prepared to be a tail. And that won't be a tail. It will be a beak and a neck. So it doesn't want to go inward like that. Good news. You're going to go back outward like this. So what you're going to do is you're still pinching it like that, and you are just going to pull it out kind of like we did the tail, get it a little bit away from hidden under the wings. It's very hidden there. We want it a little bit away. And then we're going to pick a spot, how high up or how low we want to fold it. The way that this is going to go, it's a creative choice up to you. If you fold it higher up, that means a shorter beak, but a longer neck. If you fold it lower down, shorter neck, longer beak. I think where this one was naturally folding right here is pretty good. There are people that do really, really small beaks, and that's perfectly good too. But I'm going to go with this kind of medium-ish length. I'm going to pull it out, like I said, keep it pinched down here. I'm going to push it out. And then, with it out, it's not going to stay there. We have to pinch back the outsides. So what I will do is I usually use my nail. This can be tough without a nail, but you just want to push into that little middle crease a little bit. If it helps, you can do this, fold down, all the way down, and really pinch that crease there. Make it a line right there, because now it's going to be folding backwards on that line. And you're going to pinch those sides. Just pinch it, and it'll go along. If you want it to stay as clean as possible, you can pull it out. You can pinch a little higher. You can do this and pinch at the neck part and the beak part until they're in cooperation with each other. And then confident squishes, pinches, and folds. It looks like a beak. And you have your crane roughly prepared. Now some people, they do these little things where they stack the cranes, so that if you wanted to do a stack, they often keep it like this, or maybe they don't even use the beak part at all, and they keep them both looking kind of like tails. They use it kind of flat like this. And that's a very pretty little arrangement. But for now, we're going to be opening up those wings. And there's two ways to open up wings. The way this one worked is I simply pull it open, and that means that there's a little bit of a puff there. There's also a way where you just fold down the wings, and then it's a triangle in the middle. So we're going to start with the triangle down. Just fold downwards, and then we'll do the pull apart one. So for this just folded wing, I've made a crease here roughly, but you want to go based on the top corners here, or wherever you want really, but typically right here. Make a more confident crease, and they'll sit out. And then do it on the other side, a more confident crease, and then just sit out. And then that would be wings. And that's how that would look. And that is perfectly good. But that's not usually how I do it. And that's not what I said we'd do. So, rewinding. According to the pattern, what you do is you just take these two wings at the top, two bits that are flipping out in each hand, and you just pull. The diagram also has this little air bubble up in the butt. That's because if you look really close, there's a teeny tiny hole. And you could try and blow air up there, but I've never needed to. So just grab your two wings. The air will go in. You want to smooth it out as you go as best you can. These fingers are supporting at the sides. You're going to slowly pull out. Just lightly yank it out. Kind of maneuver it, and it will puff out from a triangle to that puffy little back. And now with the puffy back, they usually can stand up on their own, or they might lean a little bit, but they stand up better than the ones that had just folded down wings. And that is your crane. There you go, a little crane. But now we're going to go back. We're going to try out some of the parts where you might have some difficulties. So I'll take another piece of paper. I'll use another solid color. This is a lighter color, so we should be able to see the difficult creases even clearer. So where are we starting again? Step 1, into a big triangle. Step 2, smaller triangles. Step 3, and you might really have troubles with step 3, opening up and squashing down. But this is where we have trouble. A lot of people, they might not be paying attention. We want this edge. We want it all the way in. But what people tend to do is just corners. They just put the corner in. That's not going to do it. that's not going to work when we do the boat. If we try and open up the boat, it's not going to fold back like we need it to. So that's not what we're doing. That is not it. Some people might take the top edge, they might fold it down. But then when you try and open it up for the boat, where are all your points to hold on to? That's not it. We want the bottom edge inward, up to the edge. So always double check where your opening is before you fold it. Don't fold this side for a crane. We've got this kite. We open it up, pin it down, and the boat. The boat is going to be difficult always. First time, that will not be an easy one to do. You won't open it up and naturally just pull it, and it works. It fights you every time. Go ahead with pointers, puff up the corners, use the support fingers to guide that little fold back here. Double check those corners, and then fold it in. You can use your hand as needed. See, even when I double checked that corner, it wasn't quite fully there. I had to open it up. But alright, get through. It's a little bit gappy, but that's fine. We know what we're doing. That's a different way I've come to do the boat now that I don't... Ooh, now that I know it well. Okay, this is the next difficult part. We've got our legs, got our wings. We are looking for the triangle at the top edge, right there. So, when I fold this corner in, I'm not folding here. We're not making a point that may have the right triangle, but it doesn't have the rest of the leg getting thinner. That is not it. And if I do this and mix myself up, that has a triangle involved, but that does not look like the right triangle. This is not this. This is the wrong side up. We want this side to get to the center, this side to get to this center. So, go in. Actually, I'll show you how each of these would look if you use the wrong fold. So that if you see this at the end of your crane, you'll know where it came from. So this really does not look like where it should at step 16. This is not step 16 ready. We can't move our legs up properly. They won't do the thin leg thing because they're fighting all of this different paper. We need to get this organized right. Same with this one. If we tried this one to go up, it's just as fighting me. It won't look quite like a tail. It'll be a bit fat on this side because that is a fat edge. In this particular case, we want skinny little points so that they go up to make a small little tail. And on this side, with it corrected, it will also try and make a small tail. But here we have another opportunity for the beak to come down, get pinched out like this, and then pinch closer like that. So we have two different beak slight looks. And now we have our cranes all set up. We'll pull these wings out supporting at the bottom. Finger, finger. Smooth it out at the top if need be. And it's puffed out. And there you go. Thank you for watching how to make an origami crane. Next time I'll be teaching how to make a swan and how to make a duck. Thank you.